Well, for a closer look, I'm joined by Mary Curtis. Mary is a columnist at Roll Call and NBCBL. She's an award-winning journalist and educator who has worked for a number of major publications, including the New York Times and the Associated Press. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So when it comes to these high-profile people embroiled in these sexual harassment and assault scandals, what are some of the direct and indirect financial costs for companies that they work for?
Well, it's interesting because we see from business to politics to media and entertainment, there have been quite a few of these payouts that we haven't learned about because of these non-disclosure agreements. So we don't know. And the lid is being blown off, and we're getting to see how much companies have paid out to women and sometimes men with these sexual harassment charges. And you have a feeling that there is a cultural shift, as the report said, a tipping point, although we have to be careful because they have been these moments in the past where we've said, okay, this is the tipping point, and it's sort of gone back to business as usual. But we see day by day things coming out. More and more women are speaking out and being emboldened, and perhaps something will be done about it. But there is a cost. And there's also, of course, a cost to the companies because consumers and customers will actually demand change.
And what about the victims, the accusers themselves? What kind of financial toll can they potentially experience?
Well, that's the thing. So many people say, why haven't women spoken out more? But if you look at it, as you said, in the entertainment industry, in the media, on Capitol Hill, these are young people who are competing for jobs, a very competitive atmosphere. They know that if they leave or speak up, perhaps someone will come and take their place. You saw the accuser of the Alabama Senate candidate, Roy Moore. She was asked, well, were you paid? And she said, no, quite the opposite. I've had to take a leave from my job, and I'm not getting paid, and my bank account is going down. And of course, there's this, which is most tragic, a case of dreams and potential being thwarted. People who are leaving because they say, all right, I just can't take this. Maybe they go to another profession or business. Their dreams are thwarted, and the potential of their contributions are set aside because of the harassment they're experiencing.
So then, Mary, what should companies be doing to address these complaints and protect their employees when these issues arise?
Well, first of all, so many human resources departments are there to protect the company, in a sense, and they should actually listen to the employees and do something about it, realizing that this is really hurting their business and keeping them from promoting and recruiting the best people. And we see the same in Congress, where actually there was this cooling off period, and actually the onus was on the people, the accusers, and not on the folks to prevent these things happening in the first place. So they have to basically listen and put things in place. Some companies didn't even have basically working human resources resource departments. So there was a process that people could report something, and there was an assurance that something would be done. You had too much of folks saying, well, that's just so-and-so, you just have to get used to it. There has to be consequences for these kinds of actions, and there will be an effect on the bottom line of the companies.
So then, do you expect these allegations to affect how entire industries, for example, Hollywood and media organizations, are viewed, or do you think it will be just specific companies?
I think it will affect all the companies because you do see, as the report said, more women who are actually coming in leadership positions and who they are finding great and talented people. So I think people will have a choice whether to promote and be customers of businesses that do it in a progressive and correct way, or whether they will be, these other companies that will see that they were losing their competitive edge. And when it's a bottom line issue, that's the thing that will make change. You see already, say, Oprah Winfrey and others who are media moguls are putting plans and policies into action that are making some progress.
Now, let's also look at Congress. We know that they're really in the crosshairs right now. But as government employees, what sort of fallout will they face as the country learns more about who's footing the bill to settle these claims and the process that happens afterwards?
Well, yes, we can see that sometimes it's basically the taxpayers that are making these payouts, and they haven't even been aware of it. Of course, these people are going to have to face the wrath of voters. I believe so many people are looking ahead to see what happens in Alabama, to see if voters will actually reject Roy Moore, who is basically saying, I deny everything and I'm going to be running. But you see in Washington, they're looking ahead because women lawmakers like Representative Jackie Spear of California are testifying, and you're getting some bipartisan legislation that, Washington can't be bipartisan about anything, but they're trying to put some sexual harassment training into place to replace the very lax training and enforcement policies that they had. You might see more, perhaps, women and other folks making their voices known and getting elected. So I think we'll have to see what the voters say, because you know how politicians are. That's
Right.
what they'll be looking toward. But it's very interesting that even the Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said, I believe the women in the Roy Moore case. And that indeed was actually progress.
Right.
But you have the President of the United States, who himself has been accused by women of sexual harassment. And of course, there was the famous Access Hollywood tape. And he has come out and basically said, well, it's up to the voters of Alabama, and we would rather not have a Democrat in that seat. So it's a very mixed message. So we'll see, both in the special elections and in 2018, the midterm elections, if people are going to be energized to get out and vote and say, listen, we want the people representing us, people we can be proud of, who
Right.
are going to have great policies and someone our children can look up to.